Sometimes a dog suddenly begins watching its owner in a different way. The dog may sit quietly across the room, studying every movement more carefully than usual. At first, it seems random, but in canine psychology, this shift often signals that the dog has noticed something important. Dogs constantly observe the humans they live with. Long before a dog reacts to anything in the environment, it quietly learns the habits, routines, and emotional signals of its owner. These patterns help the dog predict what will happen next in the household. Because dogs depend heavily on predictability, they become extremely sensitive to change. When a person behaves slightly differently than usual, the dog immediately begins paying closer attention. This is often the moment when a dog's quiet observation suddenly becomes more focused. Imagine a routine evening at home. You sit down after work, move through familiar habits, and your dog relaxes nearby without much concern. But if something in your behavior shifts, the dog may suddenly become much more attentive. This change does not need to be dramatic. A different tone of voice, a slower movement, or a subtle tension in posture can be enough for a dog to notice. Dogs read body language far more carefully than most people realize. When a dog detects something unfamiliar, it often enters a state of observation. The dog may sit still, watch your face, and track your movements around the room. This behavior allows the dog to gather information about what might be happening. From the dog's perspective, understanding human behavior is essential for safety. Dogs evolved alongside humans, which means their survival has depended on interpreting human signals correctly. The better a dog understands its owner, the more stable its environment feels. Because of this, dogs build what could be described as a mental model of their owner's behavior. They learn how you react when you are calm, excited, stressed, or distracted. Over time, these patterns become deeply familiar to the dog. But when those patterns suddenly change, the dog notices immediately. The dog may not understand exactly why something feels different, but it knows the environment has shifted. Observation becomes the dog's way of restoring understanding. This is why some dogs appear to stare intensely during certain moments. The dog is not simply being curious or waiting for food. Instead, it is evaluating whether the familiar patterns it relies on are still intact. Many owners first notice this behavior during periods of emotional stress. If a person becomes quieter, more restless, or more distracted than usual, the dog may respond by watching more closely. The dog is trying to understand the change. Dogs are also extremely sensitive to emotional signals. Small changes in breathing rhythm, muscle tension, or voice tone can communicate information to a dog. Humans often overlook these signals, but dogs rarely do. Once the dog observes the situation long enough, the intense watching often fades. The dog gradually understands whether the change is temporary or part of a new routine. When things begin to feel predictable again, the dog relaxes. This silent evaluation is one of the reasons dogs form such deep bonds with their owners. By constantly observing human behavior, dogs learn how to adapt to the people they live with. Over time, this understanding creates trust and emotional connection. Interestingly, many dogs repeat this process throughout their lives. As routines shift and environments change, dogs continue adjusting their understanding of the humans around them. Observation remains one of the most important tools in their psychological world. For dog owners, recognizing this behavior can change how these moments feel. What once seemed like random staring may actually be a sign of intelligence and awareness. Your dog may simply be trying to understand you. The next time your dog watches you more carefully than usual, the moment may feel different. It might not be curiosity or boredom at all. It could be the moment your dog is quietly learning something new about the person it trusts most. Another interesting detail about this behavior is that dogs often watch most closely when their owner is making decisions. Moments of uncertainty, hesitation, or emotional tension create subtle signals that dogs immediately detect. Even when humans believe they are hiding their feelings, dogs are often already aware that something has shifted. This ability to read people is part of what makes dogs such remarkable companions. Over generations, dogs that could interpret human behavior more accurately were more likely to thrive alongside humans. As a result, modern dogs are extremely skilled at detecting emotional patterns in the people around them. Because of this sensitivity, dogs sometimes respond to changes before humans even realize those changes exist. A dog may begin watching its owner carefully long before the owner becomes aware of feeling stressed or distracted. To the dog, these early signals are important clues about how the environment might be changing. Once the dog understands what is happening, the intense observation usually fades. The dog has gathered enough information to adjust its expectations again, stability returns, and the dog relaxes back into its normal routine. This quiet psychological process happens far more often than most people realize. Dogs are constantly updating their understanding of the humans they live with. What appears to be simple staring may actually be a dog learning something new about the person it trusts most.